And a very, very good morning to all my dear students. Today, in the environment looking around, that is your EVS, we are going to start a new lesson. That is your lesson number 16. And the name of the lesson is a busy month. Lesson number 16, a busy month. First of all, you will write today's date 7/1/2021 and then you are going to write here classwork. आप यहाँ पर क्या लिखेंगे? साथ में classwork. Now in this lesson, as you can see, there are lovely pictures of birds. This is your pigeon, this is barbet, then this is your कोयल है, ये जो है crow है, Indian robin है. You can see the pictures of some of the birds here. From this you can make out that in this lesson we are going to study about the birds. Now there are very many different types of animals on the land. Animals are there, birds are there. All these animals and birds live in different climatic conditions. They all have their different eating habits, and according to their eating habits and the place there where they live, their body has been developed like that. Like some of the birds live in water, some live near the water, some live on land. That means they come on the land also. Some make their nests on the trunk of the tree, some make the nest on a high tree. So some make the nests in the places, abandoned places like pigeon. So इस तरीके से जितने भी birds होते हैं या animals होते हैं, उनके जो climatic conditions होते हैं, where they live, the food that they eat, so it is how their body is developed. The entire body, the development of bodies according to the condition in the habitat where they live, and also the type of food that they eat. Now if you see the birds, if we take the example of birds only, then there are birds which have, some birds have very small beak, some birds have very large strong beak, some birds have curved beak. Then the legs also, some have short legs, some have long legs. Then their feet are, some have the plain feet. Their claws, some have the webbed ones, some have very sharp nails on the claws. So depending upon what type of food they eat also, like kites and vultures, their claws are very sharp. So that they can hold the prey. जो उनका शिकार होता है वो अपने पंजे में वो लोग दबा कर रख सकते हैं, इसलिए उनके जो होते हैं, जो पैर होते हैं, क्लॉज होते हैं, वो बहुत ही शार्प होते हैं, उसके नाखून भी. वैसे जो उनकी बीक्स होती हैं, दे आर ऑल्सो वेरी क्वाइट हार्ड एंड शार्प ऑल्सो टू टेयर द फ्लेश. सो एवरीथिंग डिपेंड्स अपॉन द प्लेस वेयर दे लिव एंड द फूड दैट दे लिव. Then in the birds also you can see the feathers also, like the peacock have very beautiful feathers. Then there are certain birds they have very lovely feathers. So depends के bird कैसा है, उसका कैसा area है. तो उसे सब जगह colder region में रहते हैं तो बहुत ज़्यादा feather वाले birds होते हैं, so that it protects them from the cold. And the birds which live in the hotter region, that they have the light feathers, because that if they have the thick feathers, then they will feel more hot. Now this lesson that we are going to study is about it's a letter written by a person, and it is written way back in 1936 from to Bal Mandir, Bhavnagar, 13th of April 1936. Now we'll start the lesson. How the letter is written, it is in the form of a letter only. Dear children, it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There are no clouds in the sky. The sun is burning hot. The sparrow, doves, and the sunbirds have started working in pairs as they prepare to make their nests. Now, this letter is written by a person who is writing in the afternoon, in the summer afternoon, that he is writing that it is 3 o'clock and the sun is burning hot. That means it is quite hot, and some birds like sparrows, doves, and sunbirds have started working in pairs. मतलब मेल और फीमेल बर्ड दोनों इकट्ठे होकर जो है नेस्ट बनाने की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. Some of the birds have already made their nests. In some of the nests, the eggs have hatched. The parents are busy feeding the chicks with different kinds of insects and other things. Now, as some of the birds are preparing to make their nest, some have already made the nest, and in some of the nest, the eggs have already been hatched. Matlab, the chicks have come out of the eggs, and the parents, that means the parent birds are feeding their young ones, their chicks, with different kinds of insects and worms. As you know, that most of the birds eat insects and worms, but some of the birds eat grains also. In our courtyard also, there's a baby dove. There is another egg in the nest, but it has not hatched yet. मतलब कि हमारे कोर्टयार्ड मतलब हमारे आंगन में भी एक बेबी डव है, मतलब कबूतर है, और उसका एक और अंडा भी है जिसमें से अभी तक नेस्ट के अंदर एक और अंडा है जिसमें से बेबी बर्ड हैज़ नॉट कम आउट. On the way to Gopal Bhai's house, there are many stones along the roadside. In the space between these stones, an Indian robin has laid its egg. Now, the person who has written the letter is the Giju Bhai, who is telling that on the way to Gopal Bhai's house, there are many roadside stones are there where the Indian sparrow, there's a space between the stone sides, और वो space के अंदर जो है Indian robin, this is the bird Indian robin who has made a nest and laid the eggs. Bachu Bhai showed it to me. I looked through the binoculars. It saw that the nest was made of grass. On top there were soft twigs, roots, wool, hair and cotton wool. This is how the robin makes its nest. Now what does the robin use to make its nest? It is soft twigs. मतलब जो soft घास थी, roots थे, फिर wool थी, hair और जो cotton wool होती है, रुई होती है, बहुत सारी चीज़ों को मिक्स करके उसने जो है अपना एक छोटा सा सुंदर सा नेस्ट बनाया था. What a soft and cozy home for its chick. The robin is not like crow. A crow's nest is made of all kinds of things, even pieces of wire and wood. So robin जो होती है वो अपना घर बहुत अच्छे से soft चीज़ों से बनाती है, so that the chicks that when they are hatched they don't get hurt. So robin is not like crow, as the crow makes his nest with all different kinds of things, including the metal wire and the wood also. I saw a baby bird in the robin's nest. It was sitting with its beak wide open, like the mouth was red from inside. In a little while, the robin flew to the nest and put something in the chick's open beak. Now, in the robin's nest, he saw there was a small robin, a baby robin, or the chick was present, and he has kept his beak open. And after some time, the mother robin came inside, and she put something into the mouth of the chick, maybe a few small insects. By then it was evening. The robin settled down with its chick. And the evening, the robin had come back home, and she puts a few of the small insects into the chick's beak. And it was evening, so she settled down there. That means she again didn't flew back, and she stayed in the nest only. You know that Koel sings sweetly. Do you know that this bird does not make its own nest? It lays its eggs in crow's nest. The crow hatches them along with its own eggs. ना कोयल एक ऐसी चिड़िया है जो कभी भी अपना घर नहीं बनाती है. कोयल हमेशा अपने अंडे जो है वो क्रो के नेस्ट में ही देती है, और क्रो को पता भी नहीं लगता कि ये कोयल के अंडे हैं, और अपने अंडों के साथ वो उनके अंडे मिक्स हो जाते हैं, और उसमें से ही कोयल के बच्चे भी हैच आउट होते हैं फ्रॉम द एग्स. सो दिस इज द ओनली बर्ड विच डज नॉट मेक इट्स ओन नेस्ट. There is a small tree nearby. It has a nest hanging from its branch. Birds are so wonderfully different. The crow builds a nest high upon a tree. Now there's a small tree nearby. वहाँ एक छोटा सा पेड़ है, वहाँ पर एक छोटा सा नेस्ट जो है वो एक ब्रांच से लटक रहा है. तो बर्ड्स इतने खूबसूरत होते हैं और इतने अच्छे अच्छे अपने नेस्ट बनाते हैं, विच इज़ जस्ट आउट ऑफ आवर इमेजिनेशन. और क्रो जो होता है वो बहुत ऊंचे पेड़ पे बहुत जो है अपना नेस्ट बनाता है. The dove makes its nest in the thorns of a cactus plant or in a mehndi hedge. And where does the dove makes a nest? In a cactus plant or in a mehndi hedge. The sparrow can be found in and around our own house. It makes its nest anywhere on the top of a cupboard, behind a mirror or a ledge. मतलब जो sparrow होते हैं, it makes nest anywhere in our house also. You might have seen many of birds make their nest on the top of the cupboard. या कोई ऐसी खाली जगह होती है घर में, वहाँ कहीं भी वो अपना nest बना लेते हैं. Moving on to page number 121. We did two pages, 120 and 121. Now moving on to page number 123. Now dove also makes their nest like this. Often they make nests in an old or deserted buildings. Now, where do the doves make their nest? Doves make their nest in the old and deserted buildings. That means the buildings which are not used. बहुत ही पुरानी और खाली buildings होती हैं, वहाँ पर dove जो है वो अपना nest बनाता है. The barbet or the coppersmith bird can be heard in the summer season with its tuk 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 call. It makes its nest in a hole. Now then there's a small bird which is a barbet या coppersmith bird जिसको बोलते हैं, वो समर सीजन में दिखाई देती है और पूरे टाइम जो उसकी चोंच से टुक 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 करके वो अपना जो है होल के अंदर नेस्ट बनाती है. इन अ होल इन अ ट्री ट्रंक, मतलब एक लकड़ी जो पेड़ की जो ट्रंक होती है उसके अंदर होल करके उसमें वो अपना नेस्ट जो है वो बनाती है. इट मेक्स अ नेस्ट इन दैट. एंड द टेलर बर्ड यूजेस इट्स शार्प बीक टू स्टिच टुगेदर टू लीव्स ऑन अ bush. It lays eggs in the folds of the leaf that is made. This is his nest. And the tailor bird also, what it does, it stitches the nest two leaves together, and in the folds of that two leaves it lays the eggs. Tailor bird has a sharp beak. The beak of the tailor bird is very sharp, so it stitches the two leaves together, and in the fold of that two leaves it lays eggs, and that is how she makes the nest out of the leaves. Now the sunbird makes a nest that hangs from it the branch of a small tree or a bush. Now the sunbird itself is a very small bird, so it makes a nest in the small branch of a tree that or in a bush. The same evening we saw a sunbird's nest. Can you guess what is the nest made up of? Now the same evening they saw the nest of a sunbird also, and the nest of the sunbird was made up of hair, grass, thin twigs and dry leaves, cotton wool, bits of tree bark, pieces of cloth, rags and even the spider's cobwebs. मतलब कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है that is left behind to make the sunbird's nest from grass, then twigs, dry leaves, then cotton wool, then barks of the tree. Small bits means small pieces of barks of the trees, then pieces of cloths were there, rags were there, and even the spider's web was also there in making the sunbird's nest.